Hello, everybody. It's an unfinished country. It's still prehistorical. The only thing that is lacking is the dinosaurs here. It's like a curse that is spread on an entire landscape. And whoever goes too deep in this has their share of that curse. So we are cursed with what we're doing here. Imagine a place that has no rules, a place that, if left untouched, is only run by organized chaos, where the tenement halls house an astounding variety of individuals of different shapes and sizes, where murders happen every single day and nobody is put on trial. The infrastructure is vague at best. The vehicles are such different sizes that they have to make their own roads, and they're often disorganized. The idea of contraception, non-existent. In fact, the more you procreate and the more you can contribute to your family tree, the more likely that the welfare program will work in your favor. It's hard to imagine that a place like this is really a comfortable place to be or a desirable place to spend your life. But in reality, this place is where I feel most at home. Because amidst all of this chaos, there's a system, and that system is constantly changing. This is the unfinished country. It's an incredible place, and it happens to be my office as well. I'm a conservation photographer based out of the Peruvian Amazon rainforest, and my job comes with a fair share of difficulties and struggles. I have to make sense of a world that at first glance seems monochrome and just void of life. All you see is green. But if there's one thing I've learned is that with a fast and curious mindset, you can start to believe that the projects that you and I work on every day have the ability to reach far beyond our own lifespans and contribute to something greater than ourselves. But I'll get into that a little bit later. First, I want to talk to you about why this place is so important and why this place is so beautiful. The Amazon is one of the most biodiverse places on Earth. It is what houses the most life in the entire world. Animals, plants, insects. There are so many different creatures in this place. And what we see is tons of stories here. My job as a photographer is to go into this place and find these stories. Each individual creature in this forest has a chapter in the story that is greater than themselves as well. Every success, every single failure is a tragedy or triumph for that species. One creature can win, but their species as a whole becomes a better species. But there are things outside of the Amazon that are coming back into it, and in a negative way. The Amazon is filled with resources, and these resources are very desirable. When you're thinking on a short-term scale, these resources are things we need right now. Things like lumber, oil, gold, agriculture. All of these things are things that people need. But the Amazon, like I said, is the most biodiverse place on Earth, and there's secrets that it has yet to teach us. So while there are these outside influences trying to take these resources out, there are also people like conservationists and scientists and naturalists trying to find what we can learn, like medicine and different things that we can make the world a better place with. So when we're discussing the idea of the unfinished country, we're discussing an idea that's at battle with itself. You kind of have to pick your side. Do we embrace the idea of unfinished and say that evolution is a continuous process that should never stop, and the more that evolution happens, the more change for the good or worse that can happen, accepting the fact that unfinished isn't a bad thing? Or do we look at the idea of embracing finished? It's something that we think about every day. If we thought about the idea of finished, do we want to think about the fact that we, as a species, live in an era called the Anthropocene? The Anthropocene is characterized by the predominant nature of us, all of us right here, all of us in the tube, all of us in Africa. We are the most dominant species on this planet. So when you embrace the idea of finished, you almost embrace the idea of no Amazon, no forest, no change. Because as humans, we're really good at this. We're really, really good at occupying space, and we're really, really good at using resources. But it's interesting because you have to start thinking about how we got here. How did our species get to the point where we can say that the ecological era that we inhabit is called the Anthropocene? Because we are a species, which means at one point in our entire ecological history, we were part of the food chain. Somewhere in the short amount of time that we've spent here, we've managed to figure out a way to increase the speed at which we advance. While there's other animals and other creatures on Earth that need to rely on evolution, we rely on our astounding ability to be better. So, evolution, we've kind of figured out a way to do that. When we're cold, we create jackets. When we need to travel vast distances, we create planes. In essence, we've overcome the process of evolution. We've become a species that used to worry about surviving the elements of Earth to a species that now affects the very survival of Earth. Honestly, when you're thinking about it from a biological perspective, that's pretty awesome. We beat the system. Congratulations. We have become the most successful species on Earth. But since we've done this well, maybe we should start to think about how we can redefine the word success. So, right now, success is pretty great. We occupy this Earth. We've created medicine. We don't worry about survival anymore. But we're not that different from the animals in the forest or the dolphins in the ocean. Honestly, our lives also represent chapters in a story that is larger than ourselves. But right now, our chapters are more focused on our individual successes. And it's interesting because we're focused on our individual successes because of the fact that we don't have to worry about if a lion is going to eat us when we go to sleep. And our stories are not really in a position to kind of contribute to us as a species. Every advancement is personal. And our lifespans are the time that we take to make our advancements. But when you look at the word unfinished, you can start to think about this idea in a different way. Right now, our lives represent a conglomerate of short stories. And these stories determine where we're going to be. The outcome of every story kind of puts us towards a path that will either be a success or a failure. That's something that we've embraced, and it's something that we've done for a very, very long time. But when you think about it, what if unfinished was something that we could make tangible? Like, for example, when we look at our tests, when we post something on social media, we're always doing a proclamation of, I'm finished. I've graduated university. I've graduated college. I just had a baby. We just took short-term goals. We're going here, we're going here, we're going here until it's over. But the idea of unfinished is kind of beautiful because that's a great thing. You finish your test, you finish your job, it's great. But the only time I can kind of see that it'd be negative is if your boyfriend or girlfriend told you that you're finished, because that kind of is a bad outcome. But even then, you find something else to occupy your time with. You find something constructive to do, and the long-term plan of your life continues to remain unfinished. And isn't it great to think about the idea that everything you do today will impact what you do tomorrow for years and years and years to come? It's something that's liberating. It's something that encouraged fast and curious thinkers like Nikola Tesla to take electricity and put it in the entire United States of America. It's something that caused explorers to get into a ship and travel vast distances to places that they don't even know existed, just because they knew that what they were doing today would reach far beyond their own lifespans, and it would contribute to something bigger than themselves. It's a beautiful thought. And I've had so many incredible teachers in my life to help me embrace this mindset. But I hate to insult those teachers a little bit, but my favorite teacher, my most favorite teacher happens to be an inanimate object. And it happens to be my camera. And the reason I say this is because photographers thrive on light. Without light, you don't have an image. And for future reference, let's consider light synonymous with information. Because when light enters my camera, it is absorbing information. And that information comes into play as a picture. So when you're in the forest and there's very little light because the canopy is so vast and so large, you need to figure out a way to get more light into your camera. And the way that I do this is by using something called a fast lens. A fast lens has a mechanism called an aperture, just like every other lens. But that mechanism in a fast lens has an ability to be much larger than other apertures in other lenses. When you have a wide aperture, your ability to absorb light is so much better. And that ability to absorb light translates into almost a limitless opportunity to show the Amazon or your subject in a way that you really couldn't with other equipment. And to me, this concept is something that I try to keep with me for my whole life, in everything that I do, regardless of if it's photography. Because if I can keep my mind as fast and sharp and my aperture as open as possible in everything I do, as much as I have on my lens, my ability to see the future of where my pictures can go, and my ability to see what all of the people that inspire me can do in the future just increases. If you're able to see that, you start to realize that everything we do today can contribute to something far beyond our lifespans. And it's great, and it's an exciting thing. Now, it's something that I consider to be what I hope my future generations inherit. It's my gift to contribute to the future of an unfinished earth. Because when you're considering the contributions right now, you would say that the best contribution you could ever do is giving your children and grandchildren your material inheritance. But what good is a material inheritance for our children and grandchildren if the earth that we inhabit is void of the natural equilibrium that we rely so heavily on? One of my favorite quotes is by Carl Sagan, and he said, "Anything you care about is not going to happen if you can't breathe the air or drink the water." It's true, it really is. I strive, and it's my life's aspiration, to leave my children and grandchildren with the results of an earth that relied on fast and curious thinking, where humankind's aperture was wide open and able to see beyond the span of their own lifespans and focus on the collective goals that contribute to an unfinished earth. Because isn't it beautiful to think that potential is still there, that the grandiose and just abundant nature of biodiversity has something yet to reveal. And we all have an aperture as well, which is pretty cool, because it's up to you to decide how you want to use it. You can choose to open it and see information in a breadth of information, or you can choose to kind of constrict it and focus on something you really care about. Either way, each approach can work, but letting in as much light as you can result in some amazing things. And if you do, you can really start to see what the unfinished country and the unfinished earth can really bring us, because the short term can wait. Thank you.